Okay, let's jump right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're tackling a topic that, honestly, most of us completely dread but absolutely need to understand. We're talking about water damage. Now, when you hear leak or flood, you might just picture a messy puddle on the kitchen floor. But the reality? Water is a super sneaky, incredibly fast-acting invader that literally eats away at your house. And defeating it doesn't just take a mop and a bucket. It requires some seriously fascinating science.
So, here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll start with the water damage ticking clock, then explore a local case study in Cornelius, dive into the hidden science of drying, walk through the 3 phases of restoration, and wrap up with how to actually prevent the next flood.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the water damage ticking clock.
Just think about the sheer speed of destruction here. Within mere minutes, cute little water droplets are aggressively soaking right into your carpets, your hardwood floors, and they actually start wicking vertically up your drywall. Give it just 24 to 48 hours, and mold spores begin actively colonizing those damp surfaces, essentially feeding on your home. Fast forward to a week, you're looking at severe structural damage, warped wood, corroded metal, and multiplying health hazards. It happens unbelievably fast.
60 minutes. That is your golden window. It's the absolutely crucial industry benchmark for emergency response time. You see, if professionals can get on site with extraction equipment within an hour, they can actually stop that rapid progression dead in its tracks, saving your home's structural materials before they become a total loss. Let's move to Section 2. Cornelius, a perfect moisture storm.
To put this into perspective, let's look at Cornelius, North Carolina, because the environment there is basically actively working against the houses. First off, proximity to Lake Norman creates constant, heavy moisture pressure. Then you've got this super dense Piedmont clay soil beneath the foundations. Clay doesn't drain well at all, it just holds water, forcing it to pool against basement walls. Throw in fast-dropping winter freezes that burst pipes and intense summer thunderstorms that dump inches of rain in minutes, you literally have a perfect moisture storm.
And it really doesn't matter if your house is a century old or if it was built yesterday. Older, historic neighborhoods like those near downtown or Westmoreland often lack modern waterproofing. Plus, they have these brick veneer cavities where water just travels vertically and pools entirely unseen. On the flip side, newer subdivisions like Antiquity have better moisture barriers, sure, but they are still highly vulnerable to the exact same burst pipes, appliance failures, and overwhelmed drainage systems, so no home is naturally immune. Which brings us to Section 3, the hidden science of drying.
So how do we actually fight back? Well, it all comes down to a really vital scientific concept called psychrometrics. This is the science of measuring temperature, relative humidity, and the moisture content hiding inside materials. Professionals use these exact calculations to manipulate vapor pressure. By lowering the humidity in the air well below the moisture level of the wet materials, they create a pressure gradient. That gradient physically forces the trapped water out of your walls and into the air so it can be removed. It's just pure physics, and it's brilliant.
Now, another crucial variable here is the water category, because the contamination level completely dictates the safety protocols. Category 1 is clean water, like a burst fresh supply line. Category 2 is gray water. Think about a dishwasher overflowing or clean water that's run through drywall. Then you have Category 3, which is black water. This is highly contaminated stuff, like a sewage backup or storm flooding. You absolutely cannot dry and salvage materials hit by Category 3 water the same way you would a Category 1 leak.
To navigate all this complexity, the industry relies on the IICRC S500 standard. This is basically the scientific rulebook. Professionals follow these strict, scientifically proven protocols for assessing the damage, removing the moisture, and verifying the results. They never, ever just guess when a room looks dry or feels dry, because trapped moisture behind a wall will silently grow mold for weeks.
And to follow those strict standards, professionals get to use some seriously cool, high-tech gadgets. They hunt down hidden moisture pockets using thermal imaging cameras, which can literally see the cooling effect of evaporating water right through drywall. They use penetrating and non-penetrating moisture meters, thermohygrometers to calculate air moisture, and they keep strict moisture logs to compare everything directly against established ASTM dry standards.
Okay, let's jump into Section 4, the 3 phases of restoration.
Rescuing a home from disaster isn't random. It follows 3 highly structured steps that move us smoothly from absolute chaos to perfectly restored calm. Step 1 is emergency assessment and extraction. This is where they identify the source, map the moisture, and pump out standing water fast.
Step 2 is structural drying and monitoring. That's where the psychrometrics come into play, with massive dehumidifiers and daily checks. Finally, Step 3 is restoration and reconstruction, carefully rebuilding the area, and ideally using moisture-resistant materials this time around.
Now, it's worth noting that Step 2, the structural drying part, typically takes about 3 to 7 days. But remember, verification relies entirely on moisture meters, not the calendar. Materials like heavy concrete or thick hardwood floors are going to dry at completely different rates than standard gypsum drywall. The science decides when the job is actually done, never just an arbitrary timeline. And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, preventing the next flood.
This leads to an incredibly empowering question. How can you armor up and protect your home before that 60-minute clock even starts ticking? Well, the good news is there are highly effective, everyday preventative maintenance steps you can take right now.
Let's rapid fire through these because these tips alone can save you thousands of dollars and massive headaches down the road. Inspect your roof twice a year. Clean out your gutters and downspouts every spring and fall so water doesn't back up. Test your sump pumps before the heavy rains hit. Oh, and this is a big one. Replace those braided washing machine hoses every 5 years before they unexpectedly burst on you. Finally, ensure the soil around your house is graded to slope away from your foundation so that heavy clay soil we talked about doesn't just pool water against your walls. I want to leave you with a final provocative thought straight from our sources today. Delays turn minor incidents into major reconstruction projects. Water damage isn't just a static, one-time event. It is a rapidly moving infection in your home. So the next time you spot a small leak, ask yourself, are you going to let the clock run out? Or are you going to rely on science and speed to protect your space? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay dry out there, and I will catch you in the next one.